All right. Well, now that you know that Lenin was a CIA trained pimp, we're going to give you more facts on the USSR social revolution here from the call for leftist action in politics. We have the clap. All right. So, how did Lenin get in with the CIA? Because everybody thinks that he formed, the Bolshevik Party. But he kind of did. But it was the CIA that put him there, right? So he grew up in Germany. And while he was in Germany, before he went to Russia, he was already being prepped. And like I said in the last video, they were telling him what to do. They were telling him to go over to Russia, to help out with Menshevik faction, with Bogdanov. And what they were going to do, is they were going to take the proletariat and, put them into camps. That way everybody will be equal, right? It's the best system in the world. Everybody's equal. You take the rich people and put them in camp, make them break rocks, make them know real hard work is right. And while the real hard working people, they just get to work like everybody else. So everybody's equal, right? Best system in the world. I mean, it was going to take over the world, but Lenin, unfortunately, was influenced prior to all this happening, right? So, CIA, later on in the 50s is when one of the guys, his name's Kermit, he actually took over the whole Iran thing, but that's neither here nor there. This was a different guy that he was related to. Was in the CIA at this time. He was training Lenin how to be a pimp. He was telling him how to do the three finger pinch smack, to the ladies if they wouldn't listen to him. And so he had about 12 different cities where these gulags were that he operated in. And these are where the highest bourgeoisie were located as well. And these were the ones he also kind of gave a heads up that, hey, if we're going to be coming to take your land and stuff like that. And so that's how they knew to get ahead of it and start digging holes in the areas to where they're going to be setting up the camps. So that way they could like stash all their life savings in there. And so he would just bring over the party, and like the alcohol and the whole, the prostitutes and the drugs and stuff like that. And so that's how he got involved in capitalism. So, and all the meanwhile, everybody's thinking he's got this Marxist Russian Social Democratic Labor Party, also known as Bolshevism. What they called was Bolshevism. So he kept these, the bourgeoisie at bay, kept them partying, kept them doing their own thing, while he's going back to Germany every now and then, and feeding all the information about, what's happening inside of Russia and all the revolutionary workers and their travelers, and all that. they had, it was during the Second Congress, um, which was actually held in Brussels, in London, in 1903. Lenin and Martov, he was another one of the people in the group. They actually had a huge disagreement over the party membership rules, and Lenin wasn't having any of it because he was making money on the side, by bringing in his prostitutes and everything, and keeping the proletariat at bay, feeding the information to the U.S. and Lenin, who was supported by this guy named George Plekhnigov. He wanted to limit the membership of those who supported the party full time and worked in complete obedience, to the elected party leadership. See, this is where the socialism dictatorship kind of gets hairy, because since everybody has to work all the time, it's kind of hard to pick a party leader because somebody's got to be doing the work. And if one person's not doing the work and one person's leading, well, the other guy's getting jealous and so that's like the only downfall to like the whole socialism movement. But I mean, if they could have came together, and actually just pick the leader and and pick the right guy, which of course the right guy was Alexander, Bogdanov from the start, because he wasn't, the CIA, informant. But Martov wanted to extend membership to anyone who recognizes the party program and supports material means by regular person's assistance under the direction of one party's organization, right? So just basically they're saying follow our rules. But Lenin believed his plan would develop a core group of professional revolutionaries. See, so I'm talking about. He believed, and this is all found in Wikipedia, by the way. Lenin believed his plan would develop a core group of professional revolutionaries who would devote their full time and energy toward developing the party into an organization capable of leading a successful proletariat revolution against the Tsarist autocracy. So what he's talking about here, he's talking about the bourgeoisie becoming part of the proletariat, not letting everybody know in the party that the bourgeoisie, that he had been feeding hookers and drugs and alcohol and stuff this whole time, they were the ones that would become capable of leading this organization. So he wanted them to come over and basically start the whole capitalist movement in Russia. And this is like a secretive way for him to do it, right? So, sorry, I thought my phone was ringing. iPhones, you always got like some kind of stupid notification going on. God, I hate capitalism. All right. So, anyways, Martov, all right, and until a close friend of Lenin agreed with him that the core party should consist of professional revolutionaries. But Martov also argued that the party membership should be open to sympathizers, right? People that sympathizing to the whole revolutionary workers and other fellow travelers. And so the two had disagreed on that issue as early as March, May 1903. And it was until that Second bourgeoisie that everybody thought was the proletariat, and he started making his own party, on the side. So at first the disagreements appeared to be minor, and inspired, by personal conflicts. For example, Lenin insisted on dropping less active editorial board or editorial board members from Iskra or Martov support for the organizing committee um, of the Congress, which Lenin opposed. Right, so the differences grew just hugely, and the split was, you know, they couldn't repair it basically. So internal unrest also arose over the political structure that was best suited for Soviet power. Now, as discussed in this book, What Is to Be Done, Lenin firmly believed a rigid political structure was needed to effectively initiate a formal revolution. So by now, Lenin had about, like I said earlier, had about 12 gulags that he was kind of overseeing. Um, it had grown to about 30, and so now he had thousands and thousands of the bourgeoisie that were now, becoming part of the proletariat quietly um, through a capitalistic movement. Um, and they were, they were had their hookers and their at this time it was a lot of cocaine, a lot of cocaine. Um, they were flying that stuff in by the, just tons of planes were flying into Russia um, with kilos and kilos of cocaine. Um, and so Lenin kind of got a little out of control there for a little bit. And of course, they love their vodka. So, uh, he in one of his days, uh, while this is happening, he was met with the idea with the opposition uh, that was once his close allies, including Martov, Pleknikov, Zastelich, Trotsky, Axelrod, uh, you know, uh, Pleknikov and Lenin's major dispute arose addressing the topic of nationalizing land or leaving it for private use, right? So, but at this time, like I said, was the Lenin was the one who wanted it for private use because he had already kind of promised the bourgeoisie, hey, we're going to come take your land at first, you know, I'll give you your hookers and I'll give you your cocaine and all that stuff, but eventually we'll give it back to you, right? So that's where this big, huge fight came down to. Now, even though Lenin wanted to continue the socialist mode of production and path towards complete socialism and disagreed with the strict party membership guidelines, became known as the softs, while Lenin supporters became known as the hards. See what was happening here? See, everybody thought Lenin was going to be, the hard ass against everybody, right? But he had a trick up his sleeve, and that trick was capitalism, right? So, yeah, everybody. It was, you know, line, hook, and sinker. You had everybody looking one way, thinking that he was going to be the one that was going to be, hard on everybody. and thinking that, they were going to take all the land and do all this stuff while he already had it set up off to the side because he was training with the CIA to make sure that the bourgeoisie got that the bourgeoisie got their land back, and also got to live with the prostitutes that they had been hanging around with for at this point probably about 2 or 3 years, um, and anyways, that's how it became. That's how he became known, as the Hards, and everybody else was known as the Softs because he tried to put on this front like he was the hard person when all he was just trying to get inside of the system to break it apart. Right? He wanted this communist party to kind of flourish, but the reason he wanted it to flourish was so that then he could take the proletariat to his side and then become a capitalist and then turn Russia into this huge capitalist environment. And then next became, between the two factions of the Russian Socialist Democratic Labor Party. Those were originally known as the Hard, the Lenin supporters, and then the Soft, the Martov supporters. Uh, in the Second Congress votes, Lenin's faction won the votes in the majority of the important issues, and soon came to be known as the Bolsheviks. But likewise, Martov's group came to be known as the Mensheviks. I'm sure you guys know this, but I'm just giving you the history. But, however, Martov's supporters won the vote of concerning the question of the party membership. Right? So this is where the split came to be. Right? So Lenin won the votes of like the actual policies of what mattered, and the Martovs won the support of the party membership. Right? So the membership they wanted was, neither Lenin nor Martov had a firm majority throughout the Congress, actually, as the delegates, left and switched sides. They went back and forth. And in the end, the Congress is actually evenly split between the two factions, but they still had a hard line of the Hards and the Softs, right? And Lenin kept his capitalism running, and nobody really knew it except for those that he was in close contact with, um, the bourgeoisie that he had been hiding as proletariats. Um, and I said he would go back over to Germany, um, where he eventually kind of got tied in with some stuff with Hitler and Stalin, and anyways, I think I'm going to end that part for now because the next part, the third part, is where things really start getting kind of crazy, because that's where like the U.S. comes in, and they try to collect a lot of the taxes actually from the hookers that that Stalin brought in. Or sorry, not Stalin, Lenin, that Lenin brought in. Uh, and so this is where Lenin and the U.S. had a big falling out because Lenin wanted to live his life, as the kingpin, even though he was being trained by the CIA. And you know how the U.S. works. Once the U.S. has a hold of you, you're their puppet. And he didn't want to be their puppet, so he wanted to break away from the U.S. too, so he could lead and run a capitalistic, uh, Russian society or USSR society at that time. So but we'll get into the whole U.S. portion of that on the next video. So thanks for watching, guys. Again, keep fighting the good fight. Down with down with those right wing nut jobs. Um, like I said, one of them's my neighbor. He comes home. He's always wearing like a polo or something, and you can just tell he votes for Trump. And there's things I want to say that I can't say about him. Okay, we'll just say that. But keep fighting the good fight. If you see anybody that's like anybody has a Trump hat on, go like mess with them. Like go like flick their hat and like tell them they're a big sissy. And make sure you apologize for being white. I apologize every day for being white. I apologize to all the black people, and the Hispanics and all that. The Asians are kind of white adjacent, so I don't really care about the Asians. But just make sure that you're always checking your white privilege, and make sure it doesn't get in the way of understanding the socialist history, actually, which could have actually been the best system in the world, had Lenin not turned it into or tried to turn it into a capitalist society, thanks to frickin' United States. So it's all the United States' fault why this world is not a one world socialist government. Because if it was, that would be just so amazing. It'd be so amazing. Um, I mean, we would all be living in utopia. We'd all have everything that we needed. We could all grow our own crops and just share all the money between each other. We wouldn't have to worry about land or anything like that, because your place is my place is your place type thing. So, anyways, if you want to support me and you want to help me continue growing my channel, and knowing the good things about the socialist revolution, and the secretive things that you didn't know, like I bet I'm sure you didn't know a lot. Stalin was a CIA operative, brought in hookers and blow and stuff like that, and had this secret devised plan. What I'd like you to do for me, um, is go ahead and go to PayPal. Guys for watching and understanding about the secretness of this crazy, part about, Lenin's life, uh, and how much influence the U.S. had on it, and how much influence U.S. probably still has on today. I mean, look at Donald Trump. He was a total Leninist. uh, he wanted all his drugs and sex, and he rights and things like that. So uh, he didn't. But he wanted to live his own spectacular life instead of living it with the people, like the softs. That's what they wanted to do. So, anyways, part 3 coming up after this one. I'll probably do it tomorrow, and that's going to be more of the United States involvement. Um, and what Lenin did to try to fight that. This happened between probably 1903 and 1906, 07, something like that. But again, thanks a lot, and keep fighting a good fight, fight the power. Um, Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry, I'm white. All right. Peace out.